Stop trying to be so damn comfortable. Successful people do not chase comfort and ease. They chase hard. Now, I am the author of the book, Killing Comfort. I'm going to be going over the concepts in this book at a high level so you can understand what this book is about and how to chase hard so you can be more successful. All right, so the reason I wrote this book was because I'd been coaching people, both in business and in fitness, and there's always something that was stopping them from success, and it was never the tactical level. The reason I wrote it is because there was a prerequisite to them getting there. That's why the subtitle is The Overlooked Prerequisite to Extraordinary Results. The overlooked prerequisite is getting uncomfortable. It's sticking with things. It's how to actually do that. So that, in a nutshell, is what this book is about. So if you are interested in becoming a high performer, seeing more success, read the book. Hey, join the newsletter. There should be a link somewhere, description, whatever of this episode. You can download the first chapter. But I'm going to be going over big picture each section of this book. So it's broken into really 4 sections. There's an introduction, and then there's 3 parts, 18 total chapters. So the first part, the introduction, is just 3 chapters on discomfort, on just being uncomfortable. It's called Press Forward Against Your Own Desire. That whole section, the first 3 chapters. And all I'm really doing in the first couple of chapters there is I'm selling you on the fact that comfort is not our friend. And a lot of people agree with that. It's that you have to do hard things. I go over historical examples. I go over examples in nature. I go over in all these examples of high performers and why you want to get uncomfortable. I'm just selling you on the idea in the first 3 chapters that killing comfort is the goal. Hard is the goal. Easy is never the goal. Comfort is never the goal. Even though you might think that that's what you're after, it should never be the goal. And I don't have to sell that today as much as I used to, but people used to think it was, I'm going to become more successful so my life can become easier. In some ways, that's true, but that you should always be chasing hard. The obstacle is the way, right? You should be chasing hard in some way, shape, or form. And I'm just selling you on that idea in the first 3 chapters. Now, the second part of this book, the part 1 is the official part 1, is chapter 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. I go over the traps. And what I call this part is the true cost of comfort. And I talk about all these different things, and I'll kind of summarize each one. The first one is just comfort itself. And it talks about how comfort is incredibly sneaky. Like even if you don't have the goal of like being comfortable and you're completely sold on the idea already, a lot of times comfort just sneaks in there. Like you start to put in a little bit less effort in the workouts, or you earn more money, and so you are becoming a little bit more complacent. It just sneaks into your life. It's not always the goal. So there's some people who are like, I'm just trying to go get comfortable. I'm trying to choose easy. If you're watching this, that's probably not you, but you have to know that comfort will sneak into your life and you have to bat it away every way you can. So that's chapter 4. Chapter 5 is on prosperity. This talks about, again, kind of that going up the ladder. The more successful you are, the more money you have, the easier it is to hit easy buttons all throughout your life. In prosperity, I talk about something I learned from Ben Bickman in an interview, which is called the plagues of prosperity. And that's what he's calling most of the diseases today, like type 2 diabetes, everything else, like the things that we're doing to ourselves in a health reason is because we have too much access to anything that we could ever want on screens, devices, food, like you name it. We have access to all these things. We're living in the most prosperous times ever. Like what you are doing today, how you live your life is like even far better than the greatest kings in the past, right? And so you have to know prosperity. The more you climb that ladder, the more success you get, again, more comfort will come, and you have to fight that. Another one, chapter 6, is about ideas. It's just how ideas can limit your growth. If you have ideas that are making you comfortable, you might want to stick in that idea. You want to get in a corner and defend that idea, but you have to continually review your ideas and say, hey, is this idea serving me? Is it moving me forward? Because it's always more comfortable to hold on to our ideas and beliefs than to re-examine them and see if they are no longer serving us. I talk about how to do that in chapter 6. Chapter 7 is all about performance. And so this is how you can slowly degrade your performance with comfortable things like alcohol, not getting enough sleep, trying to pretend to be a hard charger when really all you're doing is detrimental things to your performance, and how every little small decision you make affects your performance, which affects how you're able to attack being uncomfortable. Chapter 8 is about the mind. So this is the biggest thing, the power of the mind. Like I talk about this all the time. You have to be focusing on this in some way, shape, or form, how powerful your mind is. And it talks about how us not focusing on that costs us a great deal. And when you do focus on it, you can see a lot more success. Chapter 9 is on leadership, really self-leadership. I'm not trying to write an entire leadership book here. That wasn't the goal of when I wrote this. But one of the biggest things that you can do is lead yourself. And a question I ask people all the time is, would you follow you? Answer that question. Would you follow you? So if you are who you are and you want someone to come work for you, would you follow you right now? And if the answer is no, you've got a lot of work to do. If you would follow you, that's awesome. But I talk about how to attack self-leadership there so it doesn't cost you a great deal. Now we're moving on to part 2, I call the truth, and it's a process I call aviate, navigate, communicate. So big picture, I have an aviation background. Don't need to get into that right now. But the aviate, navigate, communicate is a very simple phrase they use in the aviation world. And it's kind of a triage, an order of operations when you're flying the airplane. So the first thing, aviate, is just fly the damn airplane. You just need to fly the airplane. Like, it doesn't matter if you're in an emergency situation, the first thing you need to do is just fly the damn airplane. Make sure everything's stable, good to go, we're flying the airplane. Then after you are flying the airplane and you feel good, you're doing it, you can navigate. When you navigate, you're trying to find out, where do I want to go? I'm here, I need to get here. So what do I do? How do I get there? How do I get to this next point? And then communicate is, now I'm going to start talking to the tower. I'm going to start talking to other aircraft. I'm going to do all these things. Aviate, navigate, communicate, in that order. And I talk about a very, stark contrast, like a kind of a bad example of an actual aircraft. And they had the black box recording, but the plane crashed. And the reason the plane crashed, even though they had multiple successful pilots on board, is because they weren't aviate, navigate, communicate. They were trying to communicate. They're trying to find out where they were going. And then they realized that no one was actually flying the airplane, and it crashed. Sounds unbelievable, but that actually happened. I believe it was in the 1970s. And they use that example all the time to teach young pilots, hey, you need to aviate, navigate, communicate. So how does this apply to a person trying to get more uncomfortable, killing comfort? Well, there's an order of operations to you becoming a person who can chase hard things. The first one is aviate. It's just focusing on daily small habits. We don't need to set some big 10-year vision or grand mission or any of that stuff if you kind of suck at getting, stringing 2 days in a row of a habit, right? Like, we don't need to be talking about all of that kind of stuff. We just need to be getting you better at habit, implementation. That's the aviate. The navigate is like, okay, I'm good. I'm building some steam momentum. What do I do? How do I navigate? Well, how you navigate is you start to actually map out a plan. You have, a quarterly goal, an annual goal, 5-year goal, all of those kind of things. That's the navigation phase. So it goes from, how do I get better at my day-to-day? How do I start planning out bigger picture things? And then communicate is helping others in the process. So it's communicating with other coaches who can help you, and then also helping other people, because once you actually get to that process and you're able to communicate, then it's like light speed, especially if you're hiring mentors. And I also believe when you're teaching other people how to do things, like I am in a lot of my content, it forces me to get better at the concept itself. So that is part 2, chapters 10, 11, and 12, aviate, navigate, communicate. I talk about everything in detail, from how to get better at the day-to-day tasks, how to plan out, and then what to do in the communication phase. Now, part 3 is called results. It's the 86% process. It's like, what is the process now? What does the killing comfort lifestyle look like? And chapter 13 is about balance. It's about the core elements you need as a human being, from sleep to vitamin D, nutrition, all these things that you need to be checking off to optimize that performance. If you go back to part 1, I was talking about how your lack of optimizing your performance is costing you a great deal. Talk about how to optimize that. Chapter 14 is called focus. It's how to focus, how to do deep work, how to get into the weeds of what you're doing and become better at it. 15 is grit. It's how to actually build grit, how to build mental toughness. And I've helped a lot of people do this. And we have a very simple practice of doing really hard workouts occasionally. That's something I like to do to maintain that grit habit. But there are a lot of other ways to accomplish that. That's chapter 15. Chapter 16, I talk about the essential habits, things like hormesis, constantly pushing yourself, doing, heat exposure, cold exposure, things like that, when they are necessary, when they are good habits, these essential habits that keep you on this point of always being slightly uncomfortable in your day-to-day life. Chapter 17, some of the biggest mistakes people have as they go through this process. One major one being like complaining all the time, even though you're doing all these hard things. Like if you're doing hard things, you're killing comfort, you're becoming better, but you're complaining about the work that you're doing to do it. You're complaining. That's just one of the big mistakes that you can make along this path, is just complaining about everything, amongst many others. That's chapter 17. And then chapter 18, I talk about how comfort is the enemy. It's going to try and sneak in every place that it can. You're going to get complacent here and there, but the goal is to always stay on point, continually assess yourself and see where you might be getting comfortable so you can make those changes. And that pretty much rounds out the book, Killing Comfort. So if you want a copy, you can get it on Amazon. You can go to killingcomfort.com, or you can sign up for the newsletter, again, somewhere around here in the description. You can download the first chapter if you want to read through, kind of get a picture for some of those historical examples. But if you want to be more successful, do not chase comfort. Do not chase easy. You have to chase hard.